With the outbreak of COVID-19, many people have been comparing this pandemic to the Spanish flu of 1918. But what exactly was the Spanish flu, and how did it affect Waterloo Region? It is called the Spanish flu not because the virus originated in Spain, but because the news coverage of it did. During the First World War, Spain was a neutral country, and its media was not censored. The Spanish media covered the outbreak from the start, with the first report in late May 1918. Allied countries, including Canada, had wartime censors who covered up news of the flu to keep morale high during the war. To this day, scientists have not been able to prove where the Spanish flu virus originated. With the Spanish flu, mortality was high in people under the age of 5, people aged 20 to 40, and people over age 65. The pandemic killed an estimated 20 million to 50 million people worldwide, with around 500 million people being infected. In Ontario, there are around 300,000 cases of the flu and 8,700 deaths. The Spanish flu hit in 3 waves, the first wave in the spring of 1918, the second in the fall of 1918, and the third in the winter of 1918 into 1919. Waterloo Region was hit hardest by the pandemic in October. During that month, 127 people died from the Spanish flu in Kitchener and 32 in Waterloo. Local schools, churches, and movie theaters were closed on October 7th by the Board of Health in order to help stop the spread of the virus. The Waterloo Chronicle newspaper printed recommendations for local residents. See if any of these sound familiar. The person who is taken ill must go to bed promptly. Early going to bed minimizes the danger of the disease. Furthermore, he is thus removed from association with healthy persons. He should be provided with his own toilet articles and eating and drinking utensils, which should be sterilized by boiling after use. All discharges from coughing and sneezing should be collected on a piece of gauze and destroyed by burning. The attendant should be extremely careful not to touch his own face or mouth with his hands while handling his patient or infected articles in the sick room, and should cleanse his hands with soap, water, and a nail brush. Crowded places such as streetcars, mass meetings, moving picture shows, theaters, and other gatherings should be avoided at this time. And perhaps most importantly, kissing should be avoided. Local factories and businesses were not ordered to close, but many of them were forced to, as the majority of their workers were home ill. Dominion Rubber, Kaufman Rubber, and William Greens and Rome were all temporarily closed, with over 50% of their employees having contracted the virus. Local hospitals were closed to visitors, and anyone with nursing experience was recruited by the Board of Health. Numerous volunteers assisted the Victorian Order of Nurses in caring for the sick. On October 31, 1918, schools, churches, and theaters were allowed to reopen when the quarantine was lifted. But the effects of the Spanish flu continued to be felt locally until well into 1919, with the virus strain remaining active in Canada until the mid-1920s.